Good evening. Council acknowledges the Wadawurrung traditional owners of this land, and I pay my respects to all elders past and present and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Greater Geelong community today. This meeting is being broadcast on the internet and the recording of the meeting will be published on Council's website. Good evening everybody, and thank you for tuning in. This is the first meeting of the newly elected council, and with restrictions easing, it's great that we're actually able to be together here in person at City Hall. It's been a long time. Unfortunately, we can't welcome back members of the community just yet, but we're really pleased to have you watching via the live stream. At the end of a tough year, the outlook in the city is really positive at the moment, and it's been amazing to see people out and about and smiling again. Might have something to do with Christmas coming. As the recovery process begins, it's really important that we do all continue to support local business however we can. So make sure you go to a local store to buy your Christmas presents rather than buying online from overseas or other parts of Australia. It's a very simple way to show our care for the community. Every purchase, big or small, helps local people, and that's local business, and that's our regional economy. And if you're coming into central Geelong to do your Christmas shopping, don't forget you can take advantage of the free on and off-street parking in council-managed spaces, so use that. Great, let's begin the meeting. We do have a number of important matters on the agenda tonight, and while I know that councillors will be keen to speak to every item, because it's been a while since they've had a chance to speak, we will try and limit the time that we are all in the room together, so I will be asking for strict adherence to speaking time limits by all the councillors, please. Are there any apologies to note this evening? I don't think there are. We're all here. Are there any requests for leave of absence from councillors tonight? Don't seem to have any. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest in relation to tonight's agenda? If any conflicts do arise during the meeting, please make them known. Now I need a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 20th of October 2020. May I have a mover? Councillor Mansfield, seconded Councillor Mason. Thank you. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Council meeting held on the 12th of November also needs to be moved and seconded. Moved Councillor Contell, seconded Councillor Grisbeg. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. And public question and submission time. We still don't have anybody in the gallery, unfortunately, but we are continuing to accept questions, of course, and submissions from the community online. And we have received 10 questions from 5 people this evening. Each person has taken the time to ask a question, has also now received a response via email. It's also important to note that each councillor has read the question sent in. While I won't read the questions out in full, for the record and for transparency, the following people have sent in questions and have received a reply. Terry Fahey about dogs on Ocean Grove Beach, Sanya Van Hewitt about the Viva Gas Energy Hub, carbon emissions and our plan for the climate action policy, John Verikios, Better Bike Connections tender notice, Nick Ford, communications about the Heights Estate Fyonsford, and Nick Ford again about the decibel levels at the Heights Estate Fyonsford, and I believe there's a petition to that effect this evening, and Ian Rabone about dog ownership and dog droppings in Ocean Grove. So thank you again to those people for bringing questions to the council. I believe we have several permissions to be tabled tonight. Firstly, I think we have one from Councillor Mason. Is that correct, Councillor Mason?
Yes, Mayor Asher. Thank you. A petition was presented to me by Mr. Peter Fryer, a trader in the Terrace Ocean Grove. It's a protest against proposed changes to dining options in the Terrace Ocean Grove, and it has about 150 signatures. Table the petition.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mason. I believe Councillor Sullivan also has, or Deputy Mayor Sullivan, I should say, also has a petition.
Mayor Asher, I have a petition from the residents of Barwon Heads in regards to the dog off-leash area at the pony paddocks with 483 signatures to be tabled.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sullivan. And Councillor Contell, you also have a petition to table, I believe?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a very significant petition here, actually, with some 213 odd signatures on it. And I must advise that the petition is actually still open, so signatures are continuing to flood in. And if I could just give a bit of background, but very quickly, it's called the Block the Noise petition. And most would be aware of the new Heights estate that's being developed there near the Ring Road. Well, the noise levels that are coming off the road from vehicle traffic is well in excess of the decibels that's permitted under the Vic Roads traffic noise reduction policy. as it's been measured by the residents. And so what the residents are calling upon is for the state government and all relevant authorities to act immediately and extend the noise wall on the Western Ring Road above the Heights estate to try to help with this. Those that have been around for a while, particularly Councillor Harwood and Nelson, would be aware of the issues that we had in this regard in that Bellpost Hill, Hammer the Heights area when the Ring Road was commenced, and there was some mitigation works that were placed in situ at that time. So what they're asking for is for us to advocate on their behalf. And lastly, I'm aware that Bev MacArthur, the MP for the state, has also written to us and written to state members here in Geelong to get behind and try and help these residents.
Thank you, Councillor Contell. Now we have some very special guests with us this evening, so before we move into the reports section, I would like to welcome our Youth Mayor, Farzana Husseini, to the meeting. Farzana will take us through the highlights of the final report from this Youth Council, and Farzana is going to take the seat of the Mayor because she is in fact the Junior Mayor. So welcome, Farzana.
Madam Mayor. Good evening, councillors, council officers, council members and community watching this meeting tonight. The Deputy Junior Mayor and I are here to present the Youth Council final report for 2020. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide information on the key points detailed in this report. Before I begin our presentation, I would like to say congratulations to the returning councillors. Welcome to Councillor Maloney, and thank you to Pat Manay for your support in 2020. The Youth Council is excited to keep building relationships with the councillors over the next 4 years, starting with our fourth presentation tonight. In our last few meetings, we have aimed to add our voice of young people in council's work and with organizations in the community. Our report talks about what we have learned and discussed in these meetings, which adds to the recommendations we will share tonight. This Youth Council has advocated for young people to have more opportunities and time to share their priorities with council. Youth councils are eager to develop and progress priorities. To show our work towards areas of importance for young people in our community over the next 3 to 4 years, these priorities could use information from the council plan and future youth summits. To make sure it works how young people want to be of moving towards Greater Geelong, when a young youth council starts the 12-month term, they would have a clear idea of where to start and could update the action of goals and needed for young people to change over time. A piece of advice is about a project to support our youth mental health in Greater Geelong. We would like to see a group of mental health experts, community leaders and young people come together to bring mental health support and service information to young people. This youth-led project group can organize events, design social media campaigns and share information for young people. All members of Youth Council are passionate about mental health and sharing the different things we can do to support it. Overall, the 2020 Youth Council is proud of the work we have done this year. We have focused on mental health at the time when it's so important to discuss, but we have also talked and learned about our other priority areas of the environment and safe community too. We are grateful for the support that councillors have given us through the mentoring program. The Youth Council would like to say thank you for your time and the chance to share our thoughts with you. The 2020 Youth Council's final meeting will be held later this month. The 2021 Youth Council will be inducted in January and will provide their first report after that. We are excited to meet this group and help support them as they make sure Youth Council voice is presented in our community. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Fazana, for your update, and very well done. It's been such a pleasure having you come along to the council meetings to provide your updates on the work of the Youth Council. And like your more senior councillors, the Youth Councillors have managed to navigate the disruption we all face due to COVID and still consider and provide advice on some really important issues. So thank you to you and all of your youth councillors for participating in the Youth Council this year.
Well said, Deputy Mayor Sullivan, and congratulations, Fazana. That was fantastic. Very well presented. Well done. Okay, so now we move into Section B, reports. And our first item is the Youth Council Final Report 2020, to be moved by Councillor Mansfield and seconded by Councillor Maloney. Thank you, Councillor Mansfield.
Thank you, Mayor Asher, and thank you once again to Fazana and the whole Youth Council for their leadership throughout this year. And I think it's not lost on any of us that this has been an incredibly challenging year for the Youth Council and young people more broadly. And I think that what they have shown us is some amazing strength and resilience. I'd also like to thank the Youth Council for their engagement. Those of us who were in the previous council, I think, got a lot out of our catch-ups, our ward catch-ups with the Youth Council, and were really challenged at times to think about what our priorities were and how we undertake our roles and ensure we're thinking of young people and the decisions that we make. Fazana has done a wonderful job of presenting the report, summarising the activities of the Youth Council for the last year. I would like to really congratulate them on their focus on mental health, and their proposal is something that I think demonstrates that they've really understood clearly what the role of council is, that they've looked into what council can do in this space and identified a gap where council can show leadership. We're not necessarily a frontline service provider of mental health services, but there is a role to be played about promotion, about what services are available in the community, and how to access those services. I think one thing that's come through, not only from our work as councillors, but I think we've heard it throughout our other networks in the community, it is difficult for young people and their families to understand how to navigate the mental health system and access supports as and when they need them. And the Youth Council has really identified how our council could do more in that space to assist young people and their families with working out where the best place to get mental health support is when they need it. So well done for your work on that, and I look forward to what we can continue to do on that project and the other priorities that this Youth Council and future Youth Councils bring to us.
Thank you, Councillor Mansfield. Councillor Maloney.
Thank you, Councillor Mansfield, and thank you, Madam Mayor. Congratulations to the Youth Council led by Fazana. It's an amazing feat to stand up in front of people. It's a nerve-wracking endeavour, I know, and I certainly appreciate the initiative that all of you have had. I've just had a quick chat with you before, and while I was not present on council during the time that you were sitting as junior mayor, I've witnessed your leadership as a constituent, and I think it's an incredible feat from yourself and also all of the councillors on board on the junior crew. So thank you so much for your endeavours. And also mental health and wellbeing is especially crucial at this point in time given COVID, and also over the past 2 months we've reconnected with non-for-profit organisation Headspace to learn a little bit more about how Geelong's youth can be better supported. So thank you so much for your valuable input, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes next, and also looking forward to the new council in 2021. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Maloney. Any other councillors? Councillor Grisbeg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd just like to say, Fazana, we have a 4-year term, but I'm sure in 4 years' time you are going to give most of us a run for our money. I really think, and we're really proud that you're from the Windermere ward, and you've done an amazing job as mayor. And the other youth councillors have been really understanding. And during COVID, it's been really hard to do the mentoring program. But I know we did a few of online Zoom sessions, and it's been good to be able to engage with the youth council, even though we haven't been able to meet face to face. But all the youth councillors have done an amazing job and really made sure that that the normal councillors, us as councillors, have been well informed of the ideas and well informed of the real youth voice that we seem to miss sometimes. So I really appreciate that. Coming through to here, and I look forward to the nominations of the new Youth Council in 2021, and I hope we have just as an amazing and resilient group as we've had in this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grisbeg. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. I too would like to congratulate Fazana and the Youth Council and thank them for the great work that they've done, and also for the Christmas card that we've just received. I particularly enjoyed working with during the mentoring sessions and with the Bellarine junior councillors, Josie, Holly and Sam, and I thank them. And just as the council has a long-term plan, a 4-year plan, so I note the junior council is also recommending a long-term plan, which will already give some work to the incoming junior councillors. Thank you for that also.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Any other councillors? Councillor Contell.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I wasn't going to speak, but I'll just quickly add my acknowledgements and thanks as well. I didn't have an opportunity or didn't get the time to engage with the Youth Council as much as I would have liked, but I want to thank all of them for their contribution over their term. I think they've done a wonderful job, and some of the priorities that they've chosen are really valuable. And Fazana, a big congratulations to you on the mayoral role. Unlike you and a couple of others in this room, I've actually never had or been a mayor, and so you've done something that many of us haven't done, and that wouldn't be an easy task, as I've seen from the mayors that we've had that I've served in under. So well done to you, and I'm sure it'll put you in good stead. And can I encourage you to keep living in the Windermere ward? That's probably a great place for you to continue to live, and when you run for council, you'll be running against these two colleagues of ours.
Thank you, Councillor Contell. Any other comments? I'd just like to say it's been a really valuable connection having our youth council. I've really enjoyed all the catch-ups that we've had and the contribution that you've made, Fazana particularly and Ashley, but also the rest of the councillors as well. And just hearing that voice from, as Kylie Grisbeg said, the people in the community that we don't always hear from, having your voice at the table has been fantastic, and the focus on mental health is really important as well. And I've had a very kind offer from the CEO of Headspace Australia, Jason Trethowan, to connect with our junior council to discuss that exact topic, both past, present and future councillors. So I think that could be a really valuable connection to pursue that in future. So once again, thank you very much for your contribution and well done, all of you. Okay, Councillor Mansfield to close.
Nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour of the Youth Council final report? Those against? Carried. Well done. Okay, second item is the Smart City Strategic Framework, to be moved by Councillor Harwood and seconded by Councillor Murrahy. Thank you, Councillor Harwood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd also just like to formally welcome my Community Award colleague, Councillor Linda Maloney, here this evening. So welcome to City Hall. And well done on a really good campaign. The draft City Strategic Framework, the report recommends that Council endorse this framework for further community consultation and receive a report on the outcomes, including the Smart City Action Plan. The framework proposes how the city can aim to use technology, data and innovation as the organisation looks to create more livable and sustainable future for the region. So the document looks at how technology can be used to protect the environment and improve the quality of life for all our residents. There's 5 strategic pillars that underpin the framework. Very quickly, a city that nurtures inclusiveness, connected communities, a city that celebrates creativity, design and innovation, a city that creates intelligent places and spaces, a city that harnesses the value of data, and a city that prioritises digital infrastructure and communications. So basically we're aiming for utopia when you read that. But the harsh reality is it's an incredibly fast changing world that we live in. Technology is rapidly evolving and advancing, and if we don't keep up to speed, if we don't keep track of what I guess the latest technology is, we will fall behind and we will find ourselves chasing, not so much chasing our tail, but certainly watching others advance quicker than we are able to. So tonight we have a framework that will be released for further feedback from the community. We've had substantial input thus far, but the feedback will be on the document, which is in the papers tonight, and it'll be supported by a 4-year action plan currently being developed. So this is an evolving document. Obviously 4 years is a long time, we see today, and it would be a very brave person to predict how Geelong will look in 4 years' time if you just look back 4 years from today, what's occurred and what is ahead of us. So there's no doubt we'll be looking at a very different environment and a very different Geelong in the next 4 years. So efforts have been made to align with local content, resourcing and global trends. It's often been said that Geelong was just a small town on the sort of one of the southern tips of Australia, and just sort of buried away with Ford, Shell, Alcoa, etc. That's all changed dramatically, and we now see our competition is global. So we compete. Everything we compete for is on a global scale, and I guess one of the things that has now given us a platform, a further platform, is our UNESCO designation as a city of design. So we're very much in the spotlight on a global perspective. So I'm going to leave it there for the moment, let others have comment on the framework, but quite clearly what's been proposed is setting the trend of how we are going to operate as a council with the community feedback and how we're going to shape the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howard. Councillor Murrahy.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And the digital strategy was adopted in 2015, and as Councillor Howard has said, it's moving that quickly. It was reviewed in 2018, and here we are now with another digital development, and it's critical to becoming a smart city, to achieving our community's clever and creative vision. So this framework will enforce that even further. Just pulled out some of the initiatives that are out in the public space at the moment. There's the free public Wi-Fi, the CCTV network, the smart lighting, the customer experience and digital modernisation program, the AR bollards, the IoT, the Internet of Things, and the smart nodes that are about the city. So it's a great framework. It's going back out. It's had obviously community and stakeholder engagement to date. It will go out for further consultation, and as Councillor Howard said, I'm not sure we'll ever get in front of this, but we've got to do our best. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well, in my mask, we have to be in it to win it, don't we? Any other comments? Councillor Mansfield.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. Look, there are some amazing initiatives in this, and as has been pointed out, becoming a smart city is really what we have to do as we evolve. I think as the City of Greater Geelong, we also have to be mindful that while technology can foster inclusion, it can also exclude some people if we move too fast and don't ensure that we bring everyone along with us. There is a digital divide, and I think that's been highlighted during COVID. We have many members of our community who haven't been able to necessarily get access to the services and supports that they would otherwise, with the shift to many things online where they might be used to face-to-face contact. So we just need to be mindful of being inclusive in any smart strategy. The other aspect of being inclusive is ensuring that we look beyond the CBD, and I know there are initiatives that do that, but a lot of this focus is on the centre of Geelong, and there's reasons for that, but we need to ensure we include all corners of the city of Greater Geelong. And the final thing I'll just highlight is that from the community feedback, there is a lot of concern still about privacy and data protection, and I think this will be an ongoing challenge for us as more and more of our city becomes, or more and more of our services and what we do becomes digitalised. We need to ensure we protect people's data and privacy, and it's essential for retaining trust with the community, and also ensuring the integrity of the programs we're trying to deliver. So,
thank you, Councillor Mansfield. Good points. Any other comments on this one? Councillor Howard to close.
Madam Mayor, just very quickly, I would suggest I'd be the least savvy councillor in the room and perhaps ever on council. But I get the importance of the strategic framework that's before us and why we're bringing it for further consultation. And just a couple of vital points that I guess I've picked out of the document. In particular is optimising investment. It's one of the things we're hearing every day now about how we're going to get investment going, stimulating our economy, stimulating our environment. How are we going to do that? So we've got an enormous amount of opportunity in front of us, and it's up, I guess, to us as a council and the council officers to recognise and take action. I think we need now to be decisive. We need to be making decisions that are timely and in consideration to what we need to do. And I think this document gives us a little bit of leadership in that space. And there's some big targets there environmentally, and I guess from an organisation perspective, we've set some big targets. They are achievable if we genuinely want to do it. I think this document will lead us down that particular path. So I think it's also very timely that Councillor Maloney has joined us, being help me if I get this wrong, but a doctorate in information technology. Your timing could not be better.
That's right.
to help us through the next 4 years. So I shall leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harwood. It's a very good point. We now have the expertise on council. So all those in favour? Thank you. Those against? Carried. Item 3 is the quarterly financial report for July to September 2020, to be moved by Councillor Aitken, and I will second this one. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Look, this report's actually received a bit of publicity in the media, but it actually relates to our quarterly financial report covering the period the 1st of July to the 30th of September. The good news is that during this period our operating deficit was actually better than what we had originally budgeted. Our operating deficit was actually $1.4 million as opposed to $4.6 million. So for that particular quarter, it actually has been a good result for the organisation. However, the bad news is that the forecasts now until the 30th of June next financial year, it actually shows a deficit of $33.4 million, where our original deficit was $24.6 million. So unfortunately, we are significantly being impacted by COVID, and that will continue for the rest of this financial year, and sadly is probably a record deficit for the City of Greater Geelong. Some of the highlights, other highlights I'd like to draw to councillors' attention and the community that are watching along at home are that we did receive $8 million from the state government, and I want to personally thank the state government for that project and program which was working for Victoria. Geelong was successful in working in partnership with the state government, and that $8 million has actually enabled us to employ 200 full-time staff members within the City of Greater Geelong. So it's a great support package and great recognition of the council and the state government working together. We also recently have just received $500,000 from the state government for outdoor dining initiatives, and that actually came during this quarter as well too. And the federal government actually assisted us by giving us $2.1 million for shovel-ready local road projects during this period as well too. So COVID has certainly had a significant financial impact on all government tiers in Australia. Geelong has not been immune to that, and we'll continue to monitor that process and report on the impacts of our budget and financial positions for the rest of this financial year, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Aitken. I'll probably reserve my right. Would anybody else like to have a comment? Councillor Contell.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, I'm not going to talk directly to the report, but because Councillor Aitken has already articulated our position, but just a comment and an observation really is that I sense there's a real desire and goodwill in this new council to ensure that we get a lot more out of our budget in the future. Some of that is demonstrated even with the notice of motion that Councillor Aitken's putting up tonight. What we need to make sure is that we don't fall into the trap of what I'm already seeing in other councils around Victoria and more broadly, where we try to make up for some of the losses that occurred over the last 8 months by increasing charges to our ratepayers in whatever regard that may be. Now is the time to use this smart city thinking to look at our efficiencies and our effectiveness, to look at the assets that we manage, own or otherwise, and really look at ways of becoming more effective and more efficient within our means, rather than just continuing to increase charges, which is antiquated thinking. I think we did a tremendous job as a council navigating the community through a really tough time, and now's the time to continue to support the community as they work through that. Our budgets will play a big part in that.
Very good point, Councillor Contell. Any other comments on the financial report? Councillor Harwood.
Just a quick point in relation to the 2.1 million from the Australian Government to fund shovel-ready road and local infrastructure projects. I'd really like to see a strong focus on our footpaths with that particular funding as well, because that is one area that we, as councillors, we constantly battle around the table with. So I just think there's an opportunity to pick off some low-hanging fruit, as they say. Thank you.
Always a popular item. Any other comments? I'd just like to reiterate while it is unfortunate that the deficit will now look more like 33.4 million, it was also really interesting when I reflected on a conversation I had with the CEO back in March in 2020 when the COVID situation first hit. Our CEO said, look, if this continues for 6 months or more, we'd probably be looking at an impact in excess of $30 million. So you're incredibly accurate, Mr. CEO, which is very reassuring for all of us. It's not particularly great news, but it is good to know that the estimate was pretty close. And the report does also note that the change in outlook is largely driven by the additional COVID-19 community and business support packages that we've put through this chamber, as well as revenue lost due to the forced closure of leisure facilities in particular during the second wave. It's also worth noting that the initial 2020-21 forecast deficit was also heavily influenced by the receipt of the $11.85 million Commonwealth Government Financial Assistance Grant late in the last financial year. So while the 19-20 year looks better, this year actually looks worse as a result of that. And as pointed out by Councillor Aitken, the team has been very successful in securing these grants and projects funded under the outdoor dining, and as Councillor Harwood pointed out, the shovel-ready road and infrastructure grants will be delivered through the course of the financial year. So we will start to see some of that investment and that activity really taking place, which will keep the morale of the community up. So there's some good news in there, even though it's probably not fabulous. Councillor Aitken, would you like to close?
Nothing further to add, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so on that note, to move the quarterly financial report, all those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, item 4 is the Council Plan Quarterly Report, September 2020, to be moved once again by Councillor Aitken and seconded by Councillor Grisbeg. Thank you, Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Look, the Council Plan Quarterly Report actually guides how resources are actually allocated to sustainably deliver infrastructure services and programs to the community. So this is an update on how we're actually doing our 2018 to 2020 council plan that we have. look, it's fascinating because if you look at it without acknowledging COVID, it actually is a pretty poor result in terms of, in fact, we've only completed 3 tasks, initiatives out of the 124. But if you look at it with the COVID lens over it, you actually see that the organisation is actually performing quite well. The impact of COVID in terms of our capacity to be able to deliver against our council plan has been quite significant. And I personally am amazed at the staff in the organisation that have continued to work during COVID, and people would not appreciate, but or understand that certain sections of the council have never stopped. The service delivery that we have in our aged care and our disability service areas has not stopped during COVID. In fact, it increased in terms of the pressures and responsibilities that we had to deliver those services. In our City Works area, all of the staff deserve congratulations for what they've actually undertaken during the COVID period. They have continued to fix footpaths, they've continued to cut grass, they've continued to pick up debris from trees, they've continued to pick up waste that's been illegally disposed around Geelong, and that has continued unhindered because of the excellent work that's been put together by our staff that work in those areas. And our administration staff have been, although working from home, from the CEO down, they have actually been able to continue very good productivity levels and quality standard levels in the delivery of their services while working from home. So I congratulate all the staff during that particular period, and our council plan report update reflects that. There are some major achievements that I want to address. One is that during this period we did complete the environmental performance of our new developments using planning controls during this quarter for that report. We also engaged with the community to attract a diverse and more representative council during the 2020 election. And that is, we actually have greater diversity on the council after that election because we now have an additional female representative. We're still actually below the state average, councillors, so we've actually got a bit of work to do because we're still below the state average in terms of female representation in local government. There's also a couple of downsides to this particular report and plan. There's 3 major areas that I think I'd encourage the CEO to focus on, Mayor Asher. The first is that we haven't even started our Geelong Play strategy, and I'm disappointed to see that because it is about providing well-located, well-designed, fun and accessible play spaces throughout the city of Greater Geelong. And we haven't started that, so we do need to focus on that as a council. The next one is that we committed, when we adopted our Reconciliation Action Plan, to develop an innovative reconciliation action task list. We haven't done that, and we have to actually now refocus on that because it's disappointing that it hasn't actually occurred. And the last one, which will bring great cheer to our rural community, we have not even started looking at the livestock and information exchange and looking at the rural and peri-urban advisory committee's recommendations that they like to present to us. So I encourage the organisation that is focused on those 3 areas of responsibility. It is in our city plan for 2018 to 22 to actually start and address, and those 3 areas I think are certainly ones that I'll be watching in future reports, Mayor Asher, to make sure that the organisation actually is meeting our expectations as councillors.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Aitken. Councillor Grisbeg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to be a bit more positive than Councillor Aitken. We have 111 items that are on track. That's really important. There are 3 that we fully completed in this report, 5 that we haven't necessarily started yet, but I think we can give a little bit of leeway when we are actually on track for 111 items out of the priorities that we've set. What I am looking forward to is setting the new council plan, so learning what we've known from the previous council plan, understanding where we are now on those journey with those items, and then pushing some of those to the new plan, but also coming up with all of those new exciting initiatives that I'm sure we've talked to all of our community during an election process. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be one of the best plans that we've put together, given we understand where the community sits right now and after COVID, and there's a recovery piece to do. But I think that we really have an opportunity now to set a benchmark for other councils around the state. So I'm a little bit more positive about it, and I think the organisation has done a really, really good job. And I'd like to congratulate the CEO and the team for running with those directions that we set. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grisbeg. That's the yin and the yang of the Windermere councillors, isn't it? Any other councillors like to comment on the plan? Quarterly update? Nope. Back to you, Councillor Aitken.
Nothing further to add except to publicly acknowledge Councillor Grisbeg and I have a slight different opinion about this particular report, which is encouraging because it actually shows diversity when information is actually presented before you, Madam Mayor.
Absolutely. That's very good. Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, item 5 is the 2019-20 Tourism Greater Geelong and the Bellarine Annual Report and Tourism Performance, to be moved by Deputy Mayor Sullivan and seconded by Councillor Murrahy. Mr Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Asher. Now, we have before us here this evening a recommendation to note the 2019-2020 Tourism Greater Geelong and the Bellarine Annual Report, which referred to as TGGB from here on in. The City of Greater Geelong has long recognised the importance of the visitor economy in strengthening and diversifying the economic base of our municipality. We support the tourism sector through a formal partnership with the industry itself. Now, 2019-20 has been a year like no other for the visitor economy of Greater Geelong. Prior to COVID-19, the region experienced strong success with record growth and several significant developments and transport links announced, which is fantastic. As an organisation, TGGB was recognised as a leading regional tourism board at the 2019 Victorian Tourism Awards, which is always great to see. Now, again, prior to COVID-19, the Greater Geelong economy, from the visitor economy alone, was worth a record $1.1 billion to the local economy, which is up 1.7% on the year before, attracting 6 million visitors, with nights spent in the region close to over up 10%. Fantastic to see. The visitor economy directly supports over 2,500 businesses, employs over 7,500 people in the community, and a further 3,700 directly. Between April and June 2020, the visitor economy suffered a combined loss of $280 million within the accommodation, hospitality, arts and retail sectors. This is all directly linked to COVID-19. Despite these challenges, TGGB has continued to lead a strong and coordinated tourism industry with a united and compelling voice during 1920, successfully pivoting the organisation to be fully focused on providing the necessary industry and recovery support during this time frame. Now, on a more personal note, it's been a pleasure to sit on the TGG board during the last 12 months, and I'm extremely proud of what both the board and the staff have achieved in unity during this difficult time frame. We've managed to implement an array of strategies and initiatives that directly support a sector of our community which has been one of the most harshly affected by COVID-19. So I'm happy to move this report for noting, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Murrahy.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Sullivan, on those. All the figures have been highlighted, and it's certainly a bittersweet report that comes before us tonight, because there's no doubt that the TGGB was flying before February and March of this year, and the numbers certainly indicate that the whole region was in a very, very strong position. But of course, history tells us that we all know what occurred February, March of this year. But I just want to highlight some things that were achieved before that occurred. And that's July 2019. These seems a lifetime ago, but July 2019, Geelong hosted the Victorian Industry Council Conference. September, it hosted the annual Cruise Association Conference. In October last year, Vietjet's CityLink came into Avalon for the first time. The the Caledonian Sky cruise ship arrived in Geelong in November of last year. And who can forget December last year, the Port Phillip ferries made their maiden voyage between Geelong and Docklands. And I'll just give them a plug now. They started up again last Saturday. So, and I'll be on there on Saturday going to Melbourne for the day. So there is a number of highlights, and I too would like to make mention of the chair, John Stevens, and the work he has done on the board. I was on the board for a very short time, and also congratulate the rest of the board and the staff led by Brett Ince and Tracy Carter. And one of the things that certainly has been well received is the waiving of the membership for the past 9 months, which has achieved excellent numbers. So there's some memories there, and it's easy to focus on where we were, and it's really about the excitement of what can be achieved now. And I think as a community, together, I'm convinced that we will return bigger and better. And this time next year, when we're reading next year's report, it'll be brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murrahy. Well said. Any other comments, Councillor Contell?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, again, just a bit of an observation, I guess, and I hope that, as Councillor Murrahy said, that when we're reading the report next year, it is brilliant, because if COVID has demonstrated anything, we're going to have to be straight out of the blocks immediately now on working out how we actually can host events and functions in the CBD as of tomorrow. Because whilst we're competing against all of the other cities and offerings that are out there and have been, we'll be competing like no tomorrow from this point forward, because every city is trying to rebuild. So what we've got to do is make sure that we're smart in the way that we protect people, keep them safe, protect them from the pandemic that's been and that we're working through, but also ensuring that we're keeping the wheels of business turning and attracting those events to Geelong. So that'll be a task for not only Council, but Tourism, Greater Geelong, Ballerine, and also the Geelong Major Events Committee. There's a lot of work to be done, and we really need to be working smart and proactively to make sure that we get on the front foot and attract those events, make sure that people are safe and are comfortable to come to Geelong to take advantage of those.
Perfect. Councillor Grisbeg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of things I just wanted to flag. The tourism directly employs over 7,500 people in this region. And if the traffic is anything to go by the last 2 weekends, we have definitely seen an influx, which is great, of our cousins from the metro region coming into Geelong and the Ballerine. And hopefully that starts to translate back into the jobs being re-employed in this region. I think one of the good initiatives from the tourism body has been the business membership, the waiver of the fee, and making sure that organisations, both big and small, across the whole municipality, are able to access the services of the tourism body. And I think Brett and John have done an amazing job to remodel their fees for next year to make them affordable for small business. And I think it's, from just off the top of my head, I think from a quarter, it's under $100 per quarter for business to join the tourism body. And some of the amazing works that the tourism body is, some of the amazing projects that come out of the tourism body around directly heading to people that are coming into this region has been really pointed and precise, and it is starting to work. So I really appreciate that the tourism body going above and beyond at the moment to really try and reinvigorate that employment, business, and just basically that everybody has a great time when they come to Geelong and the Ballerine.
Absolutely. Well said, Councillor Grisbeg. Any other comments on this one? Back to Deputy Mayor Sullivan to close.
Thank you, Mayor Asher, and thank you to my fellow councillors for their comments as well. They're all extremely correct. What we see here in this report is we're used to seeing great numbers out of TTGB, but what this shows before us is that they are not a fair weather department. When the tourism industry was in strife, was in trouble, they immediately turned around and said, how can we help, what we can do? And they've delivered fantastic results on that. Through support from this council, $500,000 for new campaigns, but I also want to shout out the over $130,000 to support international students for Study Geelong during this crisis. That was a part of our community which was forgotten by many departments of other levels of government. So to be able to put some help to them through this time frame was fantastic. And with that, all done. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sullivan. Put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. Carried. Item 6 is Swan Bay Road, Wellington, Part Road Deviation and Land Exchange, to be moved by Councillor Mason and seconded by Deputy Mayor Sullivan. Thank you, Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. I suppose this is a slight turning point in the meeting where we were addressing more mundane and administrative matters, but they're really important. Council needs to improve a land exchange with Barwon Water to correct an administrative anomaly in a road deviation of a portion of Swan Bay Road, Wellington. Basically, the existing road provides an offset through a safe S-bend approach to Grub Road. The existing road is actually Barwon Water land, while the surveyed council road is on paper only and has never been commissioned. This land swap formalises the current situation and will be effected at no cost to council. Once the discontinuance and deviation process is completed, the city will facilitate the land to be transferred to Barwon Water in exchange for the deviated road. The existing road that is already constructed will transfer to council as a municipal road. Ministerial consent from the Minister of Development, Environment, Land and Water, DELP, should have said that first, I'm sorry, is required before the gazettal notice is published.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Deputy Mayor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not much to add to that. Councillor Mason has summed it up. It's a very procedural matter, and we're just rectifying it so it can be carried out in due process.
Thank you. It is in fact a deviation from our previous items, isn't it, Councillor Mason? Okay, would you like to close?
Yes, deviating it for a moment, Mayor Asher, I suppose we've got to keep the standard of rural roads going if the tourism on the Bellarine will be optimal. But I have nothing further to add on the subject. Thank you.
Okay, we'll put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7 is a proposed partial road discontinuance and sale abutting 248 Kilgore Street, East Geelong, to be moved by Councillor Murrahy. Thank you. And seconded Councillor Mansfield. Thank you. Councillor Murrahy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Councillor Mason, there is nothing mundane about this item. Let me tell you, I've done my homework on this. I have visited this site 4 times before I'll be able to get my head around it. It sounds simple. The discontinuance of an unnamed laneway between Kilgore and Normandy Street, East Geelong. So, as I said, I went there twice, couldn't find it. Went home, checked my council papers, went back on Sunday afternoon, spent 20 minutes looking over fences. So I got away with that, and then I returned the next day and knocked on the door at 248 Kilgore and got a full explanation as to what the intention is. So it's an unused, pretty much, laneway. The residents are on board, they know the process, and the resident of 248 Kilgore who's gone to council with the intention on this, it's really just the size of a single garage at the end of a laneway. So this will, if it gets approved tonight, will go out to the residents and get formally approved when it comes back to us. So what I thought was something simple took a lot of time, but at least I'm across it now, and it probably highlights the laneways that do exist around old Geelong, that the possibilities of similar to this occurring. Anyway, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Murrahy. That was very Harry Potter-esque for a moment there, wasn't it? Thank you. Councillor Mansfield.
Thank you, Mayor Asher, and thank you, Councillor Murrahy, for your due diligence on this item. I guess this is we're putting this out to notice to the community. So if there are any residents around that area that do have any concerns, my understanding is that there aren't any that we are aware of, but this is your opportunity to make your views heard. And if you do have any issues with what's being proposed, please do make a submission, and the submissions review panel will hear those concerns before any final decision is made.
Thank you, Councillor Mansfield. Good clarity. Any other comments or questions on this one? Councillor Murrahy, back to you to close.
Nothing further, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Those against? Carried. Item 8 is the councillor appointments to portfolios. Nothing mundane about this either. To be moved by Deputy Mayor Sullivan, and I will second this one. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you just stated, we have here before us to adopt the council portfolios and to appoint councillors to the position of chair and deputy chair for each portfolio. Council has identified areas of strategic focus, and a system of portfolios will be established here to support the effective governance of the municipality. The attachment here, attachment 2, lists the portfolios that have been identified by council. A councillor chair and deputy chair will be appointed to each one for a number of 2 years to oversee a number of strategic areas over that time frame. Now, the role of the portfolio holder is to keep up to date with council proposals, issues and activities relevant to that portfolio, and to be a key point of contact and engagement with all stakeholders in the community. They will also report to councillors on portfolio issues and ensure that all councillors have all the information that they need necessary to make informed decisions, and to champion council's key priorities and decisions which are relevant in their area. And we have a great list of portfolios here which really target some of council's key priorities. We've expanded some portfolios for greater detail and engagement, and we've created new ones. So I'm happy to move the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan. Yeah, you said most of what is relevant there, but I will just add that deciding and creating portfolios is really an interesting part of the process of a new council, or certainly a new leadership team, and it doesn't come without challenges because people sometimes want the same things. But this list here is quite a long list. It certainly doesn't tally exactly to the council plan pillars, because we knew we were refreshing our council plan. So we did have quite an opportunity for freedom to give the councillors the opportunity to have a portfolio named according to their passions and their in areas of real interest. So hence the long list, and I'm hoping, and I've got to say Councillor Sullivan did the magic work here of actually pleasing everybody, and I think he's actually managed to do that incredibly well. It's a very long list, and it's also quite a complex task to do. So congratulations to Councillor Sullivan for all his work, and everybody for their input and also their patience with the process and getting this through. So it's been quite an interesting exercise. Are there any other comments on the portfolios? Councillor Condell.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, I would just like to applaud the fresh thinking that was applied this time round. Since being a councillor in 2010 to this point, I don't think we've ever had such an opportunity to be able to create some really relevant portfolios. The two that I just wanted to touch on were or are the arts, live entertainment, hospitality. I'm just so pleased that I've had the opportunity to put that forward for consideration tonight, because it's an area that I believe is going to need significant focus over the next couple of years as we're navigating through COVID. I touched on it before when we talked about the tourism report. Live entertainment, in all forms, whether it be buskers, whether it be large events or local entertainers, comedians, the like, will really need some support and help to help them get back on track and to attract visitors into Geelong, as will the hospitality industry. And there's a lot going on in that space. And the other one I'd like to quickly mention and thank Councillor Aitken for his encouragement and support with is the Osborne House portfolio. It's something that Councillor Aitken and I would really like to bring councillors on a journey with us over the next few years. this term must be the term that we deliver on Osborne House, and by having its own portfolio will ensure that we really stay laser focused on that and make sure that we get an outcome for the community that's tangible, that sees it having works commenced and hopefully completed in this term.
Well said, Councillor Contell. Any other comments on the portfolios? Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Mayor Asher. Look, it's actually a great list. The council group has actually done a fantastic job to actually try to elevate different areas of responsibility for the next 3 years. I mean, like it is good that Aboriginal Affairs is now a standalone portfolio. It is good that climate change action is actually identified as a portfolio of responsibility. It is good that waste management is now not just seen as a service responsibility of council, but it's actually part of our commitment to the circular economy. It's good that we're actually also talking about citizenship and community engagement for the first time as well too. We've got a major report coming up to council in the next couple of months as well too in relation to that. It's great that social housing's being elevated as a portfolio area of responsibility. And on a personal level, I'm happy to see volunteering and disability elevated back into an area of responsibility as well too. This list gives a clear indication that the councillors are not just ward-based, which is the political manner in which we get elected onto the City of Greater Geelong. These portfolios show to the community that we have regional responsibilities, and it also gives a clear understanding to the community of who do you talk to in the City of Greater Geelong about a particular issue and a particular area of interest. Well, now you know who it is, and I really love the spread of new portfolios, and I love the fairness at which all the councillors are sharing responsibility of being a chair of these portfolios and sharing the responsibilities of being a deputy as well too, to assist those other councillors that have those chairing responsibilities. So I think this establishes a great foundation for the next 2 years for this particular council and gives the community a clear indication of our intent, interest and responsibilities that we see as recently re-elected and first-time elected councillors to the City of Greater Geelong, Mayor Asher.
You hear, Councillor Aitken, well said. Did I see your hand go up, Councillor Nelson? No? It's imagining things. Anyone else wish to comment on this one? Back to Deputy Mayor Sullivan to close.
Thank you for your kind words, Mayor Asher, but nothing further to add here. Thank you.
Okay, great. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Next item is same but different. This is the committee appointments. That's the actual title. Item 9, committee appointments, to be moved once again by Councillor Sullivan, and I will second this one as well. Deputy Mayor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. Now I have a slight amendment to add on this one when I move it. We have before us here to appoint councillors to delegated committees and delegated committees in accordance with the new Local Government Act, and we have the list before us in attachment. But I'd like to move an amendment that the addition be made of Councillor Maloney to the G21 Education and Training pillar as well.
In addition to Councillor Mason?
In addition to, yes.
Great. Okay, we've noted that. Noted that. Just add it to the table in the minutes. Great. Thank you very much. I'm happy to second that amendment. Okay.
Lovely. Thank you. As well as just what I said, thank you, Mayor Asher, we have to appoint council's representatives to external committees, boards and forums in accordance with Section 63 of the Act. Council must appoint at least 2 councillors as committee members to a delegated committee, one which must be appointed by the Mayor or Council as the chair of such. The list is attached. I think it's a good list. It's great to see members of the council out in wide and varied positions throughout the community. It provides the services and the connections that we have throughout not only our city but the region as well. So very happy to move the amended motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. This is, if you think people like meetings, it's actually less about attending meetings than it is about connecting quite often with external bodies and getting different information from different places and sharing the information that we come across. So there are some fantastic opportunities in this list of committees, and I'm really pleased to see that once again Councillor Sullivan's managed to share the love with people representing a very wide variety of committees and right across the council group. So very happy to second this one. anyone wish to comment on this large list of, I think, 35 committees? Councillor Grisbeg.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. What I would just like to say is that whilst our names are all against these items, and from the previous paper as well, is that this is, and as Councillor Aitken has said, this is around our municipal-wide responsibilities. We also have our ward responsibilities as well. So it is a really good list, and I'd like to thank the Deputy Mayor and the Mayor for their hard work in plugging everything everywhere and making sure we all had basically what we are really interested in. I'd like to also just acknowledge that I am going to be put onto the rep for the Municipal Association of Victoria, something that I'm quite passionate about, and also audit and risk. I know with Mayor Asher we attended the meeting last week, and that to me is one of the really important committees of this council to really ensure where we're going, what we're doing, and making sure we're doing it as safe as we can. So some may say that the audit and risks might be a waste of time, but in my view they're not, and it's really important that as a governing body we are seen to be really engaged on all of these committees. Thank you.
On Councillor Grisbeg. Any other comments on the committees? Back to Deputy Mayor Sullivan to close.
Nothing to add, Madam Mayor.
Okay, let's put the committee appointments to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 10 is the Councillor Oaths and Affirmations of Office, this time to be moved by Councillor Contell and seconded by Deputy Mayor Sullivan. Councillor Contell.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think I could speak for most that other than your family and your loved ones and having children and all of those kinds of things, I don't think there's a more proud or privileged or honoured moment than becoming a councillor, certainly for myself. I welcome Belinda Maloney, Councillor Belinda Maloney. You only get one first council meeting, so tonight is yours and I hope you're enjoying it. But if you're around long enough and you like it and you engage with the community, you may get the privilege and honour of continuing to represent the community every 4 years or so, and there is just nothing like it. And we thank the community for embracing us and giving us this opportunity to once again represent them, and we don't take it lightly. So I welcome and applaud all 11 councillors that are here tonight. Really looking forward to the term ahead, and I suggested before we don't take it lightly, and what the affirmation and oaths actually represent is us undertaking the duties of office of a councillor in the best interests of the municipality and the community, to abide by the councillor code of conduct and to uphold the standards of conduct set out in our councillor code of conduct, and faithfully and impartially carrying out and exercising the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us under the Local Government Act. So we take this very seriously, but we also feel privileged to have the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Contell. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and of course thank you, Councillor Contell. To support your words, absolutely. It's fantastic to be noting the councillor oaths and affirmations of office here, and it's also just shows to have so many councillors returned, just that the faith the community has in this council group and that we are taking the right steps in their best interests. Of course, it's fantastic to have Councillor Maloney here as well. Councillor Contell's right, you only get one first, but I'm sure if you run again, you will very well get back up as well. So fantastic to note it here, and looking forward to the next 4 years.
Councillor Sullivan, any other comments? I'm not looking at you, Councillor Maloney, no pressure. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Mayor Asher. Yeah, look, it is a great privilege to be elected into local government, and I echo the words of both Deputy Mayor Sullivan and Councillor Contell. And I just indulge a little bit on a personal level. It was actually a little bit sad doing the oath this time, because it's the first time ever that our families haven't actually been able to participate, or our partners and friends, and it was actually quite sad on a personal level, because they actually put in a tremendous amount of work to assist us to actually get these positions that we do have. They give ultimate sacrifice in terms of allowing us to participate all the time in local government activities. It's actually a very selfish role for a family when you've got a council living in your council group, and normally the oath is, and the affirmation that when we take it, is something that we get to do with our family and our friends. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we weren't able to do this for the first time ever. I hope there is some opportunity in the future, Mayor Asher, under your leadership, that we can try to do something that enables our families to engage, and we can give them some of the personal respect that we would like to, that we traditionally do under the oath process. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Aitken. Any other comments? Councillor Murrahy.
Wasn't going to, but I just want to reinforce what everyone has said. It is a proud moment. Certainly the campaigning is exhausting, and then when you're duly elected, elation followed by a real flat period, especially, well, for me anyway, but we didn't get much time. We're straight back into it, and I'm looking forward to working with my fellow Brownbill Ward councillors, and Councillor Mansfield and Councillor Contell, and the rest of the council in this being a productive council going forward. So, thank you.
You hear, Councillor Murrahy. Any other comments? No, Councillor Contell. No. Back to you to close. Okay, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 11 is tender T21000006, Estuary Reserve Modular Pavilion, Design and Construct, to be moved by Deputy Mayor Sullivan and seconded by Councillor Mason. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have your report here to recommend the tender for the Estuary Reserve Modular Pavilion, as you said. The report recommends that Council award a design and construction contract for the Estuary Reserve Modular Pavilion to KL Modular Systems Pty Ltd. This would mean design work on the new $1.157 million facility in Leopold could begin as early as January. When you think about it, it's only 1 month away. How scary is that? The building will be used to home FC Leopold and will also be used by Leopold football and cricket clubs, which both use Estuary Reserve as a secondary ground, and that just shows how sorely needed this facility is. We're getting huge numbers of local sport participation down the Bellarine in these growing family areas, so this sort of development here is sorely needed. This will be fully funded by the City of Greater Geelong, and it will include social space and a kitchen, plus accessible gender-neutral change rooms that meet Football Victoria standards, and that's very important. It's a major goal for this council. The building will be designed with input from the tenant clubs and with an aim to provide a modern, fully functional, relocatable facility. So KL Modular Systems emerged on top in a competitive tender process based on its experience, expertise and value for money. If the tender is awarded this evening, construction will begin in July next year, actually, and finish by late 2021, ready for the start of the 2022 soccer season. I'm very glad that we could help deliver this for the Leopold community. FC Leopold campaigned hard on this to us, so fantastic that the council was able to deliver this. Thank you. Absolutely,
well said. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. I think the Deputy Mayor's summarised it beautifully. There's not much more I need to say. Other than it's really pleasing that we're moving forward and expanding sporting infrastructure and opportunities in Leopold. And as the Deputy Mayor said, there's such a population increase. There's been a demand on all of the facilities. It will involve community engagement in the design phase. Social equity and disability has already been mentioned, and the usual qualitative rating criteria were applied, and post-tender contract did confirm that KL Modular Systems would meet all the requirements, and I endorse the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Councillor Grisbeg.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. I just want to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to Jared Larkins, who's the previous president of Leopold FC Leopold. I always say it the wrong way. FC Leopold, who was really instrumental in this process. What it will do is it allows 3 types of sports to use the same facilities. It includes a social space, accessible gender-neutral change rooms, which is really, really important. And I think that having seen quite a few of the facilities that KL Modular Systems has done across the municipality, I think that they will be very excited once the construction phase is finished, and they'll be hopefully ready for the next, not this season, but the next football season. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor Grisbeg. Any other comments on this one? No. Back to Deputy Mayor Sullivan to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to my fellow councillors for their input as well. This is fantastic. If you go down to Estuary Reserve right now, you see a couple of small models there that are just bursting at the seams. There's not enough change rooms for all the kids, umpires, and senior members as well. When you have so many participants at one venue, these small rooms that are left often get taken up by storage for equipment to actually run these operations. So, not being able to have a proper canteen or barbecue, lack of ability to fundraise for your club, which is instrumental in volunteer-run organisations, this will just mean the world, not only for, FC Leopold, but for the other clubs that can use it to support as well. So this is a fantastic thing, and hopefully we get full agreement around the table.
I'm sure you will. I think you will. Okay, well, on that note, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. You put forward a good case, Councillor Sullivan. Item 13 is tender T21000019, the provision of tree maintenance services to... Oh, sorry, we are too. I just crossed out the wrong one. Item 12, stand corrected. Tender T21000002, provision of plumbing services, to be moved by Councillor Grisbeg and seconded by Councillor Aitken. Councillor Grisbeg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I expected to be seconding, so I will do my best at the moment. This obviously is a tender out for our panel of supply of plumbing services to the City of Greater Geelong. This was a competitive tender process, and it's recommended that the following businesses are appointed to the panel, which is G&S Complete Plumbing Services, New Plumbing Solutions, Poolside Plumbing Services, Shield Plumbing and Drainage, Knott and Drew, and Justin Drew Proprietary Limited Mechanical Plumbing Services. These tenders have a real mix of plumbing and aquatic skills and experience, and the majority of these tenderers are based in the Geelong region. So that's a really good opportunity for our local economy. And the total budget allocated for this contract is $2 million. That's all. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Grisbeg. Councillor Aitken.
Madam Mayor, as the son of an electrician, it gives me great pleasure to move an item that's about plumbers, because plumbers and electricians actually work very closely together in the trades field. So my father would be really happy that I'm looking after the plumbers tonight. And what is really pleasing is Council has a local procurement policy, and this actual tender tonight shows that isn't just a policy, it's actually being put, there's evidence to support that. The majority of these plumbing businesses are actually Geelong-based small businesses that are plumbers, and I really thank the organisation for actually setting up a local procurement policy and position, and actually making sure that when it comes to us for making our decision of who we are creating these opportunities for, they are for local based businesses. So that's a fantastic outcome. We are spending our money in Geelong, and we are creating employment opportunities, and we're making sure that our well qualified plumbers actually get some good work from the City of Greater Geelong. Mayor Asher.
Well said, Councillor Aitken. Any other comments on this item? Nope. Back to Councillor Grisbeg.
Nothing further, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we'll put item 12 to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Really cross it off this time. So item 13, tender T21000019, provision of tree maintenance services, to be moved by Councillor Maloney and seconded by Councillor Nelson. Thank you, Councillor Maloney.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. The report recommends that Council award a contract for tree maintenance services to Tree Synergy Proprietary Limited, trading as Bellarine Tree Services and Tree Scene. The contract is for pruning, safety assessment on all trees in council-managed land. It's planned to undertake a proactive program of pruning all trees on council-managed streets, properties and parks over a 3-year cycle, and an annual cycle of pruning palm trees under power lines and on rural roads. The recommended provider came out on top as part of a competitive tender process, and the business is Geelong-based, which aligns with our local buying ethos. Subject to the contract being awarded, the services will begin on the 1st of January. The contract is for initial terms of 3 years with further 2 12-month extension options, and for a fixed lump sum of just over $6.43 million. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Maloney. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to thank and welcome Councillor Murrahy to the group, the Continuing Award group, and to the council group. It's great to have you on board. This tree maintenance service is a good outcome for jobs, as Councillor Aitken alluded to in the previous report. It's more jobs for Geelong people, which is great to see. And let's hope that this tender maintenance service doesn't dump the branches on the ground like some electricity companies tend to do when they trim trees. They just leave the branches on the nature strip for residents to pick up, which is really disappointing. So I welcome Tree Synergy or Bellarine Tree Services to City of Greater Geelong, and let's hope they can do a really good job. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Any other councillors like to comment on this one? Councillor Murrahy.
Just a comment, Madam Mayor. I see the services start on the 1st of January. That might be dangerous New Year's Day to be cutting down trees. I'm not sure after a New Year's Eve. That's the only comment I'd like to make on it.
A fair comment, Councillor Murrahy, but never know, no big parties allowed, so maybe it'll be a tame New Year's Eve. Okay, so we'll go back to Councillor Maloney to close.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to note that trees can store a massive amount of carbon, up to 15.7 tonnes per hectare after only 4 years of growth, and this offset's going to be pretty crucial given our sustainability focus moving forward, so we must take care of them. Thank you so much, Madam Mayor.
Fair point. Okay, put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Now we reach the really exciting part of the meeting for the next 5 items. Revocation of flood-prone areas, although the first one's a prone area by the look of it. So item 14 is the revocation of flood-prone area designation of new lots at Armstrong Estate, stages 46A and 46B, to be moved by Councillor Nelson, seconded by Councillor Harwood. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not too much to say. Hopefully I can fill the shoes of previous Councillor Manane. I spoke to him last week and he is very busy, more busy than he's ever been, so hopefully I can fill his shoes. But this is just standard procedure from the flood mapping that was done in 2006 to remove that flood overlay for the residents down on Airport Road, what used to be next to the runway, for those of you playing at home, which is good for those lots because it means that they won't have expensive insurance. I'll leave the rest to my fellow councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Councillor Harwood.
Very little. I've nothing further to add.
Anybody want to start with this one? Add any more? No. Back to Councillor Nelson.
Nothing further, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we'll be fairly quick with these ones. Item 14, put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Similarly, item 15, revocation of flood-prone area designation of new lots at Ashbury Estate, stages 15 and 16. Once again, moved Councillor Nelson, seconded Councillor Harwood. Councillor Nelson. Thank
you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, similarly to the last one, item 14, item 15 is for Ashbury Estate. That's over near Horseshoe Bend Road. And they're doing some, or they have done, that revocation works over a period of time. So there's quite a big dam down there if you're ever down that way. It's quite a big feat of engineering, that's for sure. So those people down there at stages 15 and 16 will not have a flood overlay, which is great for them.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Councillor Harwood.
Nothing further.
Thank you. I presume nothing further from anybody. We'll put this one... Oh, Councillor Nelson to close?
Nothing further, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. It's getting different now. Item 16, revocation of flood-prone area designation of new lots at Anchorage Estate, Stage 7. This time it will be moved by Councillor Harwood and seconded by Councillor Nelson. Councillor Harwood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just this time we move down Barwon Heads Road to the Anchorage Estate. Again, it's as has been explained in relation to the council obligations that we meet here, and I'll leave it at that.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Nelson.
Nothing further, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Harwood to close. All good. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 17, only two more to go. Revocation of the flood-prone area designation of new lots at Charlemont Rise Estate, Stage 14. Once again moved by Councillor Harwood, seconded Councillor Nelson. Councillor Harwood.
Madam Mayor, again, we move on to the Charlemont Rise Estate down Horseshoe Bend Road. And again, it's in relation to Council's obligation to have this flood revocation for the residents down there to have surety of their land. It won't be flooded and they can get insurance. And leave it at that.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Harwood. Councillor Nelson.
Nothing further, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Harwood, close.
Quick plug for Horseshoe Bend Road, and the road itself, the work that it needs is substantial, and I can assure you now, I'll give a heads up to the CEO that we will be coming hard and fast on this road being upgraded and brought to a standard that isn't a goat track.
Yes.
Thank you.
I support that fully. Okay, put this one all to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. And the last one, number 18, revocation of flood-prone area designation of new lots at Fynesford West Estate, Stage 2, to be moved by Councillor Murrahy and seconded Councillor Contell. Councillor Murrahy.
Madam Mayor, and I just want to slow things down a bit because this is actually a drum roll moment for Brownbill because in all this time over the last 3 years, I'm not sure there's been one in Brownbill, the revocation of the flood-prone area. So I've heard many and I should be able to recite them off without looking at the notes. But it's actually an exciting moment because that development has really sprung up overnight. You turn left and come into the Hamilton Highway, up a deviation into Geelong. It's just how quickly that has gone up has been amazing. And it's many houses there, and this will make room for more. So I just wanted to speak about it a bit longer because Gardenia Ward have monopolised things over the months. So as Brownbill councillor, I'm very proud to move this matter.
Squaring things up. Well done, Councillor Murray.
Councillor Murray.
Councillor Contell.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, it is an important report because in several councils before, we went through a period where we were applying quite a significant amount of flood overlays to properties in Hamlin Heights, in Bellpost Hill, all over Geelong, and it actually came with a lot of passion and emotion from residents. So when you apply an overlay, it has all sorts of implications on residents. Councillor Harwood mentioned insurance, could have impact on value of land and things of that nature, particularly if it's on their Section 32. So the fact that we're actually revoking it is quite heartening for those that own property in these areas. And so this one here, once again, is a positive story that we're now, the development's at such a stage that we can revoke the flood overlay.
Very good point, Councillor Contell. Anyone want to add any comments to this one? Deputy Mayor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to pick up on what Councillor Murrahy said, that the Gardenia Ward councillors have had 80% of their fun on this. Windermere's had a couple. Brownbill now has one, and we're yet to pass one on the Bellarine. But that does not mean that we are prone or not prone to flooding. We can still go for some stormwater upgrades, I reckon. So, but looking forward to a time when we can also revoke some flood overlays.
Join in the fun. Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Okay, any other comments? Back to Councillor Murrahy to close. There you go, you got the floor again, another 2 minutes, Pete.
And I thank fellow councillors for their contribution to this matter, and I've got nothing further to add.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, for item 18, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Right, now we need a drum roll because that's the report section closed, and we're into the section C, notice of motion, brought to the chamber by Councillor Aitken. This is a councillor expenditure review panel. So thank you, Councillor Aitken, for presenting this notice of motion for us tonight. And can I please have a seconder to second this motion? Councillor Grisbeg, thank you. Councillor Aitken, over to you.
Thank you very much, Asher. The first thing I'd like to do, if I can open my telephone. I'd like to actually read from the Geelong Advertiser. It says, as Geelong prepares its recovery from the coronavirus pandemic, the city finds itself in an interesting position. It is under intensified financial pressure and all faces increased demand for many of its services it provides and the employment that it creates in the region. At the same time, rate capping is now entrenched and is so, it has limited, the council has limited means to increase its income. In that climate, it makes sense for COG to take reasonable measures to cut costs. I don't think I could have summed it up better myself. That's actually the editorial from Monday the 30th of November from the Geelong Advertiser. What my recommendation here is, in fact, we had a deficit of 24.6 million and it's now grown by 8.8 million just in the last 2 weeks since I wrote my original report. So it's now, our deficit's now $33.4 million compared to the 24.6 that I first mentioned in this particular background information. That in itself reflects the significance of what we're facing in terms of the City of Greater Geelong. We have a major deficit and it is prudent of us and it is responsible of us as financial managers and to actually try to look for modest opportunities at which to reduce expenditure in the City of Greater Geelong. And this actual motion puts forward, I think, a collaborative manner in which to do that. So we actually put recommendations to our CEO to actually have a look at this year's financial budget and also next and future year financial budgets for cost savings. One of the unique aspects of the notice of motion that I've brought before Council tonight is to elevate community engagement to a higher level than has actually occurred in the City of Greater Geelong before, and I'm really proud of this part of the notice of motion. What we're actually doing, instead of just going through our normal budgetary process where we ask the community over a 4-week process to actually say, what do you wish to add to the budget? Because we don't normally get the community to coming forward with their ideas saying what you would like to cut and save. Well, this motion actually asked us to work with the CEO to develop a specific engagement process with the Geelong community to ask them, do they have ideas themselves? And can they put forward some savings that could assist us in trying to fulfil our responsibilities and financial management responsibilities? And I think that component of the notice of motion in itself is enough to justify why it deserves the support of the councillors here tonight, because we are wanting to engage with our community to put forward ideas. What's an interesting thing about the budgetary processes and the financial position that we find ourselves in, we don't regularly ask the community about what they value about what we do. You know, and this is an opportunity to try and test that a little bit as well, to actually ask them, what do they value? Because they may come up with ideas themselves about what we should could put forward as saving measures. And importantly as well too, it also shows respect to the 11 elected councillors, because it actually asks us as individual councillors to think about saving suggestions ourselves that we can put forward to the CEO to consider in part of our responsibilities and the organisation's responsibilities. The new Local Government Act actually talks about council has a responsibility to be financially sustainable in terms of its operations and the way in which it undertakes its responsibilities, its city plan and its strategic focuses it does have. So running a deficit of $33.4 million isn't sustainable. We all know that. We know components of it are associated with federal government grant advancements, so there's about $11.8 million associated with that, but there still is an underlying $23 million associated with a component of it is COVID, and the other is the additional costs that have actually been borne on the organisation during this 12-month period. So it is important for us. I certainly don't believe we will identify $33.4 million worth of savings, and nor do I intend, if I'm successful chairing it, to do that. But I think we do have a responsibility to be prudent. We do have an opportunity to put some modest ideas before the CEO, and I look forward to the support of my fellow councillors, and I'm also engaging with the community in this important responsibility we have.
Well said, Councillor Aitken, and beautifully timed, I must say. Councillor Grisbeg to second.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a responsibility to listen to our community, and this is now more than ever. After the hard times we've recently been through, I feel that this panel is probably well timed if it's approved tonight. Ideas and recommendations would be driven from this engagement through to the CEO. To me, this is a short-term piece to ensure that we can demonstrate how we can return to a surplus. It is our responsibility to ensure the fiscal sustainability of this council. So I agree with the request for the CEO to consider also an employee engagement process, as I feel that our employees are our best asset. In my personal view, from my perspective, this is not about cutting jobs. This is about finding a better way to do what we do as a business with a lens of what we have experienced over the last 12 months. During the election process, as difficult as it was to engage with the community during many Zoom meetings, and I'm sure all the other councillors did the same, the community shared quite a few ideas with me about how the city can make savings. This is now a recommendation of a way forward to hear those views. And obviously this is definitely the year to be looking back and considering about where we were and where we want to be in the future. So I support this notice of motion brought by Councillor Aitken. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grisbeg. Councillor Contell.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, I'm extremely supportive of this notice of motion, and I really applaud Councillor Aitken for bringing it to the first meeting. I only wish that I had brought it earlier, because I reflect on 2008 when we were going through the global financial crisis, and it is this type of initiative exactly that we introduced into the business that I'm currently managing. And it was not necessarily just about cost cutting, it was about becoming more efficient and effective, and engaged our employees. And they came up with the best ideas, some of them which we still are adopting today. So I'd actually encourage us to keep this going if we can get the format right into the future. And some of the ideas that we came up with in 2008, 2009 might sound a bit simple now, but it was all those small things that added up. So we introduced swipe cards for printing at photocopiers, because in those days you would just print everything, and you had papers everywhere that people had printed but actually didn't need them. So it made you go to an effort. We introduced electronic archiving. We introduced video conferencing. All those kinds of things that we maybe take for granted today, but they were great ideas at the time that helped us become more efficient and effective, and they have spin-on effects. You know, the environment, less paper used, all those kinds of things. And I think if we engage with the community, we'll get some great ideas. I'd encourage us to engage with our employees as well, because they will see lazy assets, lazy investments that we have. You know, we found sea containers that we'd been hiring for 5 years that we didn't need. So I think it's a tremendous initiative, and we will get great outcomes out of it.
Thank you, Councillor Contell. Other comments? Councillor Murrahy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a differing view, and I think it's the view that other councillors here are aware of, because I did reply. I sent the email back in response to the notice of motion. I just see things differently than Councillor Aitken on this, and obviously other councillors in the chamber tonight. I don't want to be seen to be dipping our toe into operational matters, and I think this is too close to the bone. And the very fact that the operational matters has been mentioned over the journey in the last week or so in relation to this indicates to me that we are too close to it. Certainly during our election campaign, I wouldn't have thought that the first thing we have to discuss when we come back into the chamber is forming, and you can call it whatever you like, but I know I put it in the email about a razor gang by the councillors. I don't think that's the community's expectations of our roles. And I know other councillors got different views on this, I don't think it will do much for staff morale. I think effectively what we're doing, we're telling the CEO how, and the finance director how to do their jobs. This should be part of their duties anyway. This should be a daily occurrence from the CEO and from the finance director about looking at all costs, and if there's any fat, we'll trim it. The very fact that we're going to consider items and seek public opinion on it indicates that there's fat there. And, you know, I know the example has been used about the calendar, the city calendar, you know, whether we need that. Well, who decides, I mean, it's out there now, who decides that that's a waste of money and we can cut costs by cutting out the calendar? The public expect a calendar from council. But that was just used as an example. So I'm really uncomfortable with it. Other councillors know my views on it. I just think it's not the time as councillors to be seen to be out there suggesting to staff, and that's effectively what will happen, where they can cut costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murrahy. Any other comments? Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. I hear what Councillor Murrahy has said, and I originally had some misgivings, similar misgivings to Councillor Murrahy, but on reflection I think it's worth having a go. I think that we will be making recommendations to the CEO to make considerations, and in turn it will then come back to the full council for the council to make its decision. So I would be happy to join this committee and to participate in some of the explorations, and it may well be it's just another avenue of receiving information. I am mindful of the fact that we are entering a new phase of community participation and deliberative engagement, and that sort of work I'm sure will be undertaken by the CEO and the staff, and perhaps we will be another avenue of receiving information. But I certainly understand that whatever we might glean from the community, it still has to go back to the CEO and the staff for their professional advice and input and for our final decision. So I'm inclined to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Councillor Harwood, then Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I certainly share some of the concerns expressed by Councillor Murrahy, but I also understand where Councillor Aitken's coming from with this particular notice of motion. I mean, some of the recommendation occur today. They already exist where we take multiple comments from community organisations, self-interest groups about how we should be going about our business, and we take them on board whether we're councillors or through to council officers direct. So there's nothing new in that regard. I think what we're looking to do is I guess perhaps even formalise some of the information that comes through, or bring it to a more formal position so it can go to the CEO as it is received. I guess the danger area is if it does morph into a more directional process to the officers about where they think where money should be saved or similar. But I guess that's a hypothetical. But I guess it is one of the dangers I think that has been alluded to, that we may overstep the boundary of our councillor role. So I'm prepared to support it with reservation that as we progress and how it initially rolls out, I'll be keen to see how what benefit it does bring to us as a group and to the organisation and ultimately the community. But again, I think we just need to be very, very mindful that it may open the door for some, that this is an avenue for them to come in hard and fast on council where we should be spending our money or not spending our money. So I guess I just reserve my enthusiasm at the moment, but I will support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Harwood. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate the views of the councillors who have spoken before me. Really, at the base level, this is a form of community consultation, community engagement, getting more ideas from the ground up, not only from the community, but as Councillor Contell said, employees as well. Everybody should be able to have an opinion and voice if they've got a new idea or, dare I say, an innovative solution. In regards to stepping on the toes of operational, well, the CEO is the only employee the council can request action of. But this is not even saying that. This is asking for us to gain ideas and solutions and make a recommendation to the Chief Executive Officer. So whilst this is an ideas gathering exercise, a recommendation gathering exercise, I debate that we are being operational as we are not making hard requests. It's simply a recommendation to the CEO, but we do request a design to implement a process to call for submissions. That's the only request we're making here. So I would say that we're still within our duties as councillor, and I'm going to support the notice of motion.
Deputy Mayor Sullivan, I'll follow on from there, and as Mayor I can assure you that I have checked with both governance and the CEO that this is not an operational direction. We as councillors would actually be in breach of the Act if that was the case, so it is important to clarify that, and I did clarify that with all the councillors. Our role includes endorsing the budget and, as Mayor, signing off the financial report, and this NOM is very clear that the panel report will be provided to the CEO to consider, so it won't be an operational direction at all. For as long as we've been elected, and probably before that, I've listened to Councillor Aitken's intention with this panel, and I appreciate that he is earnest in his desire to contribute in a very positive way. And the 4 words that describe best my reasons for supporting this motion are collaboration, responsibility, creativity and community. And I applaud Councillor Ait for coming up with this NOM, and I'm very happy to support the motion. Any other councillors wish to speak to this one? Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I certainly support Councillor Aitken and what he's trying to do. Other councillors have said that when we get around to budget time, we're always spinning our wheels, as Councillor Contell has said on many times. And I think this, hopefully, this panel will be able to get projects, whether they're sold, whether they're more efficient, and we can bring those to the CEO and back to the council group again for budget time, and get some things more efficient within our council. It's not about, as Councillor Grisbeg said, it's not about getting rid of workers. That never came into our thinking, not from the discussions I've seen. So that's just garbage made up by, I don't know, poor journalism, I guess. This is about saving money and getting our budget back into hopefully a surplus within the next few years. And as someone that's had a small business and worked in finance for over a decade, I'll be happy to join the panel to get things more efficient and get the job done. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Any other comments? Councillor Mansfield.
Thank you, Mayor Asher. Okay. Thank all my councillors for their contribution to this debate. I've been listening with interest because this is one I've been stewing over for the last week, and I really appreciate the intent behind this, but also recognise, that some councillors have expressed concerns. And I guess for me, the issue around this is that this is something that councillors really should be doing as a matter of course during the budget process anyway. We have a responsibility to oversee, oversee financial management in its entirety, not simply request more things be put in the budget, but look at where it's headed. So in that sense, I guess that there is a question around, what is this doing that's in addition to what we should be doing anyway. I suspect that within the organisation, various departments are asked to look at where they can save money already. As part of the new Local Government Act, we are required to engage with the community about our budget process, and that should not just be looking for ideas for what they want money spent on, but perhaps looking at things like where we need savings. But that said, perhaps having a formal process by which we, do this and a specific focus on this particular aspect of our budget management. Look, maybe that helps to carve out some space so we do it with some more vigour than we've more rigour, than we've done it previously. I do still I have some reservations, probably similar to Councillor Harwood, just about what this might add. I think there is the risk of straying into operational territory, but I hope we will. There's a risk in that in any part of our budgetary management, and we need to be mindful of our responsibilities under the Local Government Act. So, look, it's probably with some reservation that I'll support this, but I, as I said, do question, whether this is really something we all have a responsibility to do as part of our budget deliberations in any case.
Thank you, Councillor Mansfield. I think that's everyone. Anyone else? Back to Councillor Aitken to close.
Thank you very much, Mayor Asher. Look, just to respond to some of the comments actually made, the Mayor has actually made it quite clear that this is not operational, and in fact the notice of motion can't be presented before Council if it is operational, because the CEO can actually stops the notice of motion coming before us. So those councillors that have made comments about operational, it's actually just wrong based on the evidence that's been presented before us. On a pure debating basis as well too, if someone's saying that we can't make suggestions about savings, well, that actually means we can't make suggestions about expenditure either. So I'd just be very careful to councillors that if you're actually saying we shouldn't be putting forward saving ideas, well, we actually shouldn't also be putting forward expenditure ideas in the purest sense. So if we are, if people wish to focus on that principle, it is very dangerous for us as councillors, because I know I was elected to actually put forward expenditure ideas, and the only way I can create expenditure ideas and opportunities is by actually putting forward some saving ideas as well too. And the reason why we have to do that is because we've actually got a $33.4 million recurrent deficit. So that actually means that we're spending significantly more money than what we've got available for us. So I always take my responsibilities to the highest level of my personal integrity and endeavours. And I'm actually a qualified accountant, and we have ethics in professional ethics that we have to actually undertake as accountants. And part of that ethical responsibility is to actually look at the whole budget process, not just to focus on the expenditure side. And this motion tonight gives us an opportunity to actually elevate the importance of savings, and that's what I wish to emphasise to the council group tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aitken. So we'll put the notice of motion to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Absolutely. All those in favour? Councillor Aitken, Councillor Mansfield, Councillor Grisbeg, Councillor Contell, Councillor Asher, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Maloney, Councillor Harwood, Councillor Mason, Councillor Nelson. Those against? Councillor Murrahy. Okay, on to section D is the record of informal. This is if the meeting gets exciting again. Record of informal meetings of councillors. May I please have a mover and seconder for the record of informal meetings of councillors? Mover, Councillor Grisbeg. Seconder, Councillor Maloney. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Section E, planning delegations. I need a mover and seconder for planning delegations. Mover, Councillor Contell. Seconder, Councillor Aitken. Thank you, Councillor Aitken. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Excellent. That's the end of the meeting. I declare the meeting closed at 8:54. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody.